the Metaverse, where anything is possible, like shopping and walking around with no legs. You want a bored ape? Just a few short years ago, Mark Zuckerberg renamed his billion-dollar tech company into Meta, and everything became a bit loopy for a while. I touched on the Metaverse in my very first video on this channel when I was talking about the Metaverse singer named Polar. That video went on to get way more views than I think it should have, climbing up to over 800,000 views, and it's the biggest reason why I'm able to make any sort of money on this platform. But honestly, that video is extremely outdated, and frankly, I don't think people should watch it anymore. It was my first attempt at a proper commentary video, and honestly, it's a very poorly researched video, and it makes a lot of assumptions about what the Metaverse is. But if I'm being completely honest, I made a lot of assumptions about the Metaverse because nobody really knew what the Metaverse was. Zuckerberg basically said, we're all gonna be living in our headsets and buying NFTs, and it'll be so cool. It'll be like Ready Player One, but it's not dystopian, all right? Guys, where are you going? This isn't dystopian, all right? People will like this. People will want this. Just put on the headset and look at my NFT card collection, please. The reality of the Metaverse in its early stages is that Zuckerberg was trying to carve out a new experience that would marry Web3 technology, aka NFTs and cryptocurrency, and VR technology together. And this would be the new big thing. This would reinvent the way that we socialize with each other, how we spend our time and money, and how we spend our day-to-day lives. Safe to say, none of that shit happened, all right? Like, literally none of it came to fruition, also because of something else, but we'll get to that later. See, the problem that I have with these big tech billionaires is that when they reinvent a way for the average person to communicate with each other, they tend to get a really huge ego and assume that they could just do the same thing again. Zuckerberg already made Facebook. Facebook changed everything. It changed the way we communicate with each other, how we stay in touch with each other, how we spread misinformation to each other. It really was a slam dunk in terms of how much it changed the everyday lives of the general population. Zuckerberg didn't have to do that again. All he had to do was just make Facebook better, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted to stay at the forefront of innovation no matter how much of his fortune he was willing to burn to get there. I'm getting a little too ahead of myself because God, I hate dumbass billionaires. But what I want to do with this video is to study what exactly happened to the Metaverse and how it morphed and changed over the years, and also studying how badly the entire concept fell off. So we first have to begin where this started, all the way back in 2021. Zuckerberg rebranded Facebook into Meta and released a keynote showing his idea of the future. And well, looking back on the keynote presentation itself, it was ambitious to say the least.
We believe the Metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet.
Is that just a thing of hot sauce? Why is that there? I literally just noticed that now. Why is that there?
We'll be able to feel present.
Why is that there? That's barbecue sauce, bro. What the fuck? What is that doing there?
Now, the best way to understand the Metaverse is to experience it yourself, but it's a little tough because it doesn't fully exist yet.
So we have an idea of what the Metaverse is going to be. Sort of, just not like completely, just trust in the process, all right?
So let's start by exploring what different kinds of Metaverse experiences could feel like, starting with the most important experience of all, connecting with people.
I don't know why, but like as soon as he said that,
Connecting with people.
do you see like how his face drops almost immediately? That kind of scared me a little bit. He's starting to frighten me.
Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. It has parts of your physical home recreated virtually. It has...
Why would I want that? I don't want a multi-billion-dollar company knowing what the interior of my house looks like.
Hey, are you coming?
Yeah, just gotta find something to wear.
What the fuck is that man? Who is he? So despite the fact that most regular people were not on board with this idea, it did get the attention of the most annoying type of tech bro you know. However, Zuckerberg wasn't trying to reach the average tech bro. He was trying to reach everybody. You wanted your friends, your relatives, your favorite personalities to get on the train of the Metaverse, despite the fact that it's not entirely clear what this was all supposed to be. And it's not like this idea hasn't been done before. Many people have already drawn similarities with games like Second Life and VR Chat, which is pretty much already what the Metaverse wanted to be, but without invasive Web3 money-making schemes. And I think one of the biggest reasons why the Metaverse didn't catch on is because the messaging of the product itself was a bit cryptic. For example, Meta ran this ad during the 2022 Super Bowl, and I want you to explain to me just by watching this ad what the Metaverse is trying to be.
Don't you forget about me. Closing time. Get out, please. Stop playing, please. And let's go, folks. Come on. You two over there. Come on, let's go.
Well, is your guess as good as mine? I genuinely have zero idea what this ad was trying to convey. You see, it's not entirely a bad thing to try and draw some curiosity from people by not letting on everything that your product is, but at the same time, people should have some rough idea of what your product is supposed to be. Like, what does the dog animatronic have to do with this? This ad just makes me feel sad for the first part of its story, and then it just makes me feel confused. Like, great, the dog finds his friends in the Metaverse eventually, that's all well and good, but why did we have to see this animatronic get flung around from place to place? What was the point of any of this? I think this ad perfectly represents just how much the Metaverse was so full of itself, yet it couldn't describe to you what it was actually trying to be. Like, yeah, I guess it has something to do with virtual reality headsets, you know, that peripheral that is totally easy to get your hands on and is monetarily approachable for the average person. It just felt really out of touch. I don't think there's any other way of describing it. But Zuckerberg kept trucking with his vision, and well, it wasn't going great. Not only was the public generally disinterested in the Metaverse, even his own company was starting to raise some eyebrows. Not only that, but Meta was losing money fast. It was reported at one point that the company was worth less than Home Depot, and that more than 70% of stock price value was lost in 2022. People were losing faith in Mark Zuckerberg left and right, and the company cut more than 13% of his workforce as a result. Things weren't looking too hot for Mark, and screenshots of the Metaverse were also not very hot. It seemed like every time that Zuckerberg would show progress of his Metaverse, the more people would clown on it. There was no winning situation other than to back out of the concept and try something else, but Zuckerberg, for some reason, just kept going with it. And supposedly, that was due in part to the people he surrounded himself with. According to many former employees of Meta, Zuckerberg wouldn't listen to people conscious about his ideas and would rather listen to people that told him what he was doing was a good idea. Not only that, but in an anonymous survey sent out by the New York Times sent out to Meta employees, allegedly 58% of the employees who responded actually understood what the purpose of the Metaverse was. So you can probably put yourself in the shoes of a Meta employee under these conditions and understand just how much of a bad situation you're actually in. Eventually, discussion on the Metaverse turned to a whisper. People stopped talking about it, people stopped clowning at it because they didn't care. But what actually happened to it? Well, it was pretty much completely abandoned because of a new technological craze: AI. Yep, you knew this was coming. In my other video talking about the metaverse, I made some predictions about what the metaverse will look like, and while I was pretty much going with the idea that the metaverse would simply crash and burn, I did not expect AI to be the thing that would overshadow it. You have to remember, this is 2022 when I made that video, and AI images used to look like this. I was under the impression that it was going to stay that way for a good while, but as we all know now, it absolutely did not. It is fucking everywhere now. You have all of the biggest tech companies shoveling plumes of dollar bills into these AI furnaces. Every company has some smart AI device or some bullshit, and it shoved the metaverse over a cliff. AI has fundamentally changed everything that the metaverse couldn't. It's a problem in schools, in art communities, in video content communities, basically everything that you can think of. AI managed to sliver its synthetic tendrils onto it. Why the fuck did I write it like that? So where does that leave the metaverse? Well, Meta's own metaverse, Horizon Worlds, has been supposedly teetering on the edge of only 1,000 players at any given time, which is more than Concord's player numbers at the very least, but not exactly the force of change that Zuckerberg wanted it to be. But in a recent article by Wired, it seems like pretty much everyone that has been working on the metaverse has completely transitioned to AI or has shifted their attention to AR. Augmented reality. Just a little bit ago, Zuckerberg announced these AR glasses, which at first glance look pretty damn goofy, and reminiscent of another failed goofy tech product from years ago. But the metaverse itself doesn't appear to be at the point of focus, which is probably why Meta's stock price has rebounded from the cavernous depths it used to be in just 2 years ago. Talks of the actual metaverse that Zuckerberg initially wanted died. I find this quote from the Wired article to be pretty succinct of the entire debacle. Quote, perhaps finally realizing that no one wants to live inside a computer, Zuckerberg seems to have performed a kind of marketing sleight of hand, repositioning the metaverse from a fully immersive virtual experience to one that can be accessed through the company's AR-powered smart glasses, an experience which he hopes that, unlike VR, will be a mainstream hit. Perhaps finally, Mark woke up from his meta-induced fever dream and is actually recovering from the depths of hell that he placed himself in. While the future of tech is still bleak and doesn't bode well for the betterment of mankind, at the very least, we didn't end up in a digital shopping mall.